everybody, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I have in my hands a piece of parachute cord. That's because the topic of this video today is my 5 favorite knots. Okay, of all the knots that I know and of all the rope works and things like that, these are my top 5 knots that I think everybody should know. So number 1 on my list is the bowline, and some people refer to it as a bowline. Some people call it a bowline. I like this knot. You can see in my right hand that I have the working end of the line. So I'm gonna come close to me and make a loop. Okay, you see that? I make a small loop. Then I'm gonna bring this tail through the hole, going from the outside underneath this rope here and go back into the hole. Okay, this is going to create a bowline. Now, you see these 2 pieces right here between my thumb and my forefinger here. I'm going to hold onto those and then I'm going to gently just pull this out. This creates a bowline. Now, I don't like the way the normal bowline goes, because the tail ends up on the inside of the loop. Now when I use a bowline, I like to use carabiners and clip in and things like this, so I do mine a little different where my tail ends up outside of the loop. I'll show you how I do mine. Okay, again, so I start over. I have the working hand, the working part of the rope in my right hand. I come here, everything's identical. I run it up, but instead of starting from the outside like I did here and going under, I start from the inside, go under, and back in the hole. This is how I make my bowline. And it ends up with the loop being on the outside, with the tail I should say. This knot is excellent for towing. If you got to pull a car out of a ditch or something like that, this knot is beautiful for that. I'll tell you why. That's because there's between my forefinger and my thumb here, my index finger and my thumb, you see that there's 2 pieces of rope. 2 pieces of rope right here that go under this loop. Where on the other side right here, there's only 1. So when you pull this thing tight, it pulls against those 2, but yet if you flip it over, there's only 1. So when you're done pulling or towing or whatever you're doing, you're done putting a big load on it, all you have to do is push this back with your finger and everything undoes very easily. As you can see, I don't have much for nails on my hand, and that's easy to undo. I've pulled cars out of the ditch and all kinds of stuff with this thing, put a hell of a load on it, and it still works great. It unties very easily. So again, I come here. This is the way I do my bowline. Here, from the inside to the outside, underneath the tree and out the hole. There we go. There was an old story. I don't know if it was a rabbit or a snake, but the story was, oh, we'll just say it's a snake, for example, for the video. We'll just say that the snake came out of his hole. He took a look around, he climbed around the tree, and then he saw something and he ran back in his hole. That was I guess the story behind the bowline. It might have been a rabbit, maybe, because the rabbit was a fluffier animal, cuter or something, I don't know. Anyway, that's the bowline. Now I want to show you another little trick that I like to use. If I know that I'm going to be towing something really heavy and I want to have a little bit of added sense of security, I guess you could say, that the thing will untie, what I'll do is, when I get to this point, instead of shoving this through the hole, I'll make like a little loop right here, and I'll shove the loop in the hole. Then I'll pull everything tight like this. So now what I will have done is I will have created 3 layers inside and only 1 on the back. So this is thicker, so therefore you could put a big load against it and it still because you have 3 on one side and 1 on the other, it's not going to tighten right here where it counts. So you could put a big load, heavy, tow something heavy, and then when you're done, a lot of times you can grab this little tail and pull it undone. Okay, now in the event that you can't get a hold of that tail, or maybe you pull it or something and for some reason it doesn't want to come undone, you can release it the original way. So again, we're shoving it in the hole, creating 3 layers. See that? Creating 3 layers, pulling everything tight. Put a heavy load on it. Say that it doesn't want to release by pulling this tab. Well, then you flip it over and you release it the original way. Just push this down. You can tell that it doesn't take hardly anything at all to undo this bowline. So that's my number 1 knot that I like on my list, the bowline. Okay, number 2, my second favorite rope trick, or knot should I say, to know, is the fisherman's knot. The single fisherman's knot. So I have a piece of green cordage and I have a piece of brown cordage, and I want to connect them together. Okay, so I'm going to start with an overhand knot on brown, and I'm going to run green through brown. Okay, see that? I'm going to tighten brown around green, and then green is going to make an overhand knot around brown. So I get like that, and then I pull them together, and you can see that they bind against each other as I pull outward. Now, a lot of times with the single fisherman's, you can pull these tabs and release the knot. If you have, say you're going to put a big load on this thing, and you have a choice between a fisherman's knot like I just showed you and what they refer to as a double fisherman's. The double fisherman's knot is stronger, but this one releases better. So I'm basically just doing 2 overhand knots. It's very simple. Just tightens up right against itself. Pull tight, and it just binds against itself. This is the fisherman's knot. This is my number 2 favorite knot to know. Okay, so I'll tie it one more time. The fisherman's knot. Make a loop. Make an overhand knot there. Green is going to run through brown. Brown's going to tighten slightly around green. Green is now going to make a overhand knot around brown. See that? That right there is your fisherman's knot. And that's an excellent knot to know. Okay, my third favorite one is the lark's foot. And what the lark's foot, some people refer to it as a lark's head. I call it a lark's foot. That's the way I've been taught. Basically, you want to make a loop here on the end. It doesn't matter really how much tails you got, but you want to put your finger and your thumb through this loop, and you're going to bend it down. Then you're going to pull these 2 pieces through, and that right there creates your lark's head or lark's foot. Okay, now suppose you have a piece of rope here. You just run it underneath and run the 2 through, then you can tighten everything together, and this creates again your lark's foot or lark's head. See? So maybe it was a branch sticking out of a tree or something. You know, you just make your lark's foot. Here's the branch on the tree. You just stick it over there and then just pull it tight. That works good for tying things down. Now, if you had, say there was a branch on a tree and you couldn't you couldn't get around, you know, the end, say it was a long branch. Well, then you could tie it around there. So what you would do in that case, let's just pretend that this other piece of cord is that branch. You would run one end over. Here's my working end. Hope I'm not confusing. You run one end over. This is the working end. It comes back in front, over, underneath, over, and through. I was about to tie a clove hitch. So like that. That's your lark's foot, or lark's head. So it could be tied around an object, or it could be slipped around an object. Let's say this carabiner, for example. If I did it like this, I could use my carabiner to just clip in, and there you got it. But let's say this is not a carabiner. Let's say this is a fixed something and I want to tie it around. I'm using this because it's more rigid than that rope and it'll be easier to show. Okay, so here's the working end of my line. I'm going to come over the object, underneath, going over the top. I almost did it again. I'm so used to tying a clove hitch. Underneath and through. And that creates your lark's foot. Okay, let me do that one more time. So you want to come around an object. 1, 2, underneath, over, through, and out. You notice both tails are on the same side. That's your lark's foot, or lark's head. And that's what the back side of it looks like. Okay, your prusik knot. This is when you have a thicker diametered rope and a thinner diametered rope. It works best for that case anyway. Now you could use it with paracord on paracord, but it really works better if you have a larger line on the top and a smaller line on the bottom. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a loop, okay? And I'm just going to do that fisherman's knot real quick. My battery light's beeping at me, so hope I don't lose my battery here. I'm going to make a quick fisherman's knot connecting this together. Now I've made a loop. So the prusik knot is, I'm going to run a lark's foot onto my rope. This would be a rope between two trees or something to that effect. So I'm going to make a lark's foot. See that? Then I'm going to come around again a second time, putting it through, pulling that down, making sure that everything is nice and clean. And let's do that one more time. Let's do it a third time. And what this will do is this will create a prusik knot. Let me clean it up. Now, these don't work very good unless you clean them up. And what I mean by that is everything needs to be straight, looking good. This is where they work the best. Now you're probably wondering, what am I going to use this for? Well, a prusik knot it's a knot that, you see, I got the rope in my hand here. I'm going to pull, see, and it locks. It doesn't want to go. But if it's that's when it's under tension. But if it's loose, you can run it all up and down your line. See that? And then when you get ready to put tension on it, it just binds on itself, and it's an excellent knot. In fact, the prusik was made popular by climbers and rappellers and rescue guys and search and rescue and things like that, because they would use it in a vertical sense and they would use it to climb up the rope. So that's the prusik. That's my fourth favorite knot. I think everybody should know this one. I use it out when I'm at camp for, you know, I have a ridge line, and I use a prusik to tighten up my tarps. And what I'll do is I'll lay that down as my ridge line, and I'll take this end here and I'll either lark's foot it around a grommet or something on my tarp, and then as I want to adjust my tarp tightness, I just run it away, and then it tightens up my tarp, and then my tarp, see, it can't pull back because it locks on itself. So that's what I like the prusik for. Plus, in a climbing or search and rescue scenario, you can go up the rope, and that's the prusik. Okay, last but not least is very simple. It's a slip knot. I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to run another loop through the hole, and I'm going to tighten it. What this can be used for is creating a ridge line, and then at the end just pull, boom, and it's gone. So again, it's like this, this, and that's it. Pull and it disappears. Slip knot. Some people refer this to this as a simple noose. That's my fifth favorite knot, the slip knot. If you see any of my videos where I'm putting up some sort of tarp shelter, I use this a lot on my ridge line. So that is my slip knot. So I want to say thank you everybody for watching my video on my 5 favorite knots. I hope that you found the information useful. Please feel free to comment. Feel free to like, share, thumbs up, subscribe, and as always, have a beautiful day everybody. Bye bye now.